Shalom Bracha. I was asked to give a few words on the historical Kol Korah that came out this past Elul. I wanted to first start off by saying that there's different types of Kol Korahs. Sometimes Kol Korah is talking to Rebbeim Mechanchim. Sometimes Kol Korah could be speaking to Rebbeim. Sometimes it's speaking to people who are working in business in certain areas of business. This Kol Korah is talking to every single Beit Yisrael. It's a personal message to each and every one of us. So I'd like to start off by saying that a bunch of years ago this topic came up, and for the Tzibur at large there was an unclarity. As the years moved on, there became access to a lot more information, to getting the mitzvahs down, and with that they were able to clarify halachically what's his din. Is it asr? Is it mutter? So in regards to this Kol Korah that came out this past Elul, the first one to be approached was Rav Elul Ber Vachvogel, Shlita. He spent tens and tens of hours being boidik the Indian, down to from the mitzvahs all the way across to the halacha and ramifications that come out from it. He took with a kavod rosh, with an achrayas, realizing that we're speaking to a very wide tzibur. It's not so easy for some people, for most people. And he felt after everything said and done, there was no heter to be soymech bechlal. And he signed his name, and he referred us to Rav Aaron Feldman Shlita from Baltimore, that we should go and approach him, which we did. He was approached, and Rav Aaron Feldman asked for the Kol Korah to be left by him, and he'll get back to us. We didn't hear from him for a while. In retrospect, what was going on was he was checking into the subject very, very thoroughly from start. No, not taking any pre-notions or pre-understandings, going through it as if it's for the very first time. He spoke to a lot of Gedolai in Beit Yisrael till it was crystal clear by him that there's no heter. And somebody who understands Gedolai Yisrael, they come with an achrayas. They're not just saying things. Some people like to justify themselves by saying, no, they just signed, it doesn't really mean it. For a signature to come out like this on such a Kol Korah, it went through with the biggest kavod rosh, and understanding the tzibur, and understanding the koshi and the hardness that it is for the regular family to do such a thing. So we went back to Rav Aaron Feldman, and he signed for us. But before he signed, he said he wanted to speak to Shetelmacher in Lakewood, which he did. What did he ask? He wanted to know that if a Kol Korah would come out, would the tzibur, would the mainstream people would follow such a Kol Korah? It's hard. And Shetelmacher said yes. You have halacha people who would, if they hear that it's asr, they're going to stand by it and be moser nefesh. After hearing that, he went ahead with it. He signed, and he said to go forward. The next Rav we went to was Rav Yaakov Horowitz, Shlita. He's on the Metas Gedolai, the Beit Yisrael. Also by him, we came to him. He didn't sign right away. We had a few back and forths until all the information he wanted was got to him, and it was clear by him. Only after that did he sign, once he saw there was nothing else to rely on. There was like an issue, it was a problem. The next Rav, Rosh Hashiva, was Rav Makil Kotler Shlita. He was in close contact with Rav Eli Ber, with Rav Aaron Friedman Shlita, and being in close contact, he heard everything that has to be heard, and he signed also with the Divrei Bracha. So that was in America. There was decided also to get some and speak to a different Gedolai here in Beit Yisrael. The first one we went to was Rav Moshe Sternbach Shlita. When we first went to him, he wasn't feeling well, and he wasn't able to look at the Kol Koreh B'chlal. After a few days, he got a little bit better. He still wasn't feeling well. His son took in the Kol Koreh to him, and he signed L'maisa. Now, he said that very same day there was somebody who was extremely not feeling well. He was sakanas nefashos, and his mishpacha, his family was asking for bracha from Moshe Sternbach. Moshe was going to write him a letter. He couldn't even write two isis. That's how weak he was. When he saw the Kol Koreh, he got such a chizuk. This is something that he's working on for years, and he got a chizuk, and he wrote down a few lines. The Kol Koreh says, "Advarim pshutim v'kfar persamti kein." These are it's a symbol, and I already told the Sibur this. And Mishi yesh le nidnun yir shemayim yizhar al kol planim lahaba. Anyone who has a nidnun, meaning a small amount of yir shemayim, already should be careful. If not in the past, at least going forward. V'scharim oid, and his schar is very great. He wrote that in his Ksav Yad, and that's the first posek we went to in Eretz Yisrael. The next was Rav Israel Auerbach Shlita. We went to him, and we sat with him for almost an hour, discussing, all the different details of this issue. He signed for us while we were there with him talking. He mentioned that Rabbi Yashiv, his father-in-law, only okayed a hechsher on such a thing if you have, from the beginning, from the actual cutting of the hair until it gets into the yid's hands, it's watched throughout the whole process. So just like you have a piece of meat, you have to have shechita, right? You can't just say, assume it came from a good place. You need shechita. It has to be basar and nela min ayin. It can't be out of, it has to be always under supervision. Chosim al pi chosim. And only then could you trust it. He said that as of today, there's no such hashkacha in a wholesale way, in a big way, a big hashkacha that does such a thing. And he signed for us. The next Rav we went to was Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein. When we were married by Auerbach, he said we should go to Rabbi Zilberstein, which is his brother-in-law. That very next morning, we went into Bnei Brak. We davened with him. When we were done davening, we approached Rabbi Zilberstein. He took the paper, the Kol Koreh, he read it silently to himself. And as he's finishing, he's shaking his head back and forth. He's saying, yeah. My shver, meaning my father-in-law, Rabbi Yashiv, was very, very, very nizar in this. Very nizar. And he wrote on the Kol Koreh that Divrei Agisi, my brother-in-law, Rav Israel Auerbach, is emes v'yatziv, because he's writing from his father-in-law, Rabbi Yashiv, that he was very, very machmir ma'oid in this Indian. It's not just, not just, any Avera is an Avera, but this is talking about one of the Chamuras. This is an issue of Avodah Zarah. The Vilna Gaon says that it's Takribus Avodah Zarah has the same significance as actual Avodah Zarah, which is Hayarg V'Layavar. can't even be in a person's house. The next Rav we went to was Rav Nachum Eisenstein. He's also the Talmud Muvak of Rabbi Yashiv. He was always by him. And he also sat down with us. He gave us a whole recording in English. It was 20 minutes long, going through the whole history of this issue. How Sternbach sent shluchim to India for a few weeks at a time, twice, till it was fully verified. Each one of the exact specifications, what has to be in halacha, if it's like this or like this, to clarify 100% what the Metzias is, and only then you could build out an halacha what the din is. After the shliach came back from India, he came back to Rav Sternbach's house. There was all the Ziknei Hadar there. And he also spoke to us. He said that he spoke to the mashgiach. There's only one mashgiach. There's one hechsher that has a wholesale hechsher on Sheitlach. He spoke to the only mashgiach there. He's the person who goes around from place to place in China to verify that the hear is not from India. So he asked him, he says, how do you know it's not from India? So he says, I know. He says, how do you know? He said, what's the simanim that you can tell? He says, I know. He says, just like when you do a shechita, you have to check the simanim afterwards. Just the two simanim that you cut the kan and the veshet. So here too, he knows how. He couldn't tell him how. Rav Nachum said he sounds like an erchel person, but that's not. Api didn't tell you this is not hashkacha. And he signed for us. The next Rav who we approached was Naftali Kapchitz. He also he spoke to us, he recorded for us in Yiddish, also very, very nice things. He signed for us. And he sent us off with brachas that we should be mechazik what we're doing. It's a big Indian, because unfortunately there's avodah zarah. You'll see in people's houses, on people's heads. Chas v'shalom. The next Rav we approached was Rav Mordechai Karp. He's the Rav in Kiryas Sefer. He's very happy to sign. He's also somebody who looked into the subject on the Seif. And he sent us way with brachas. We next went to the son of Rabbi Yashiv, Moshe Yashiv. He signed for us, and he told us that his father was also Nizra on the Seif. Even though some people have shmuas that Rabbi Yashiv, he switched his mind in the end. We heard edus from a few people who was mamish curved to him, his son-in-laws, that on the Seif Yamav, he was extremely machmer in this. Now, after the Kol Kari came out, the Hamodia in America, he had a write-up about it. And the Hamodia, before the write-up, they wanted to verify. So we got information that they actually called up and they spoke to Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein, they spoke to other Rabbanim to see did they really sign. And they got the answers the way it really was. That of course they signed. And even though sometimes people, when it's a hard thing to follow, they try to find different ways out. So Bez Hashem, we should have the koyach to withstand such a temptation. One more thing I wanted to add. We went to Rav David Moore, Shlita. He's known as a poisik l'chatchila, and he's a lot of Aveicha very close to him here in Eretz Yisrael. He's a big Talmud Chacham, and we went to him. He says he has a Kabbalah from his Rebbe that he doesn't sign anything public, but he told us that Avada, he said, if this will be a shayla in Basav Achalav, such a type of shayla, he says every person would be running away with 100-foot pole from such a shayla. He says because it's sheitlach and it's very hard. It's a person's wife, and everyone's doing it. And he said, but be'etzem, it's something that people would run from. Such a shayla, if it'll be a Basav Achalav. And he said more than this. He said that when a person has this on the head, it makes a tumtum alev. You're wearing a takrevis of avodah zarah on a person's head. What does that do to a person? How could tefillas be mekabel in such a situation like that? He says after a person takes it off, the tumtum alev starts to go away and they can see a little bit more clearly. Yeah. Bezos Hashem, we should be zeicha to the Gula Shalima. I'll just mention one last thing that I heard from Rav Rimmer. Rabbi Yamin Rimmer, who's the youngest son-in-law from Rabbi Yashiv. He said from his father-in-law, Rabbi Yashiv, that whoever could go ahead and be Moisa Nefesh. This is our Moisa Nefesh today. We have everything. We have every Baruch Hashem. We have everything. And you have people who don't do it. Baruch Hashem, Bez Hashem will be able to be goyver and do such a thing in here. Rabbi Yashiv gave a bracha that whoever's able to do it, he says he's maftiach them. They're going to have banim, children who have Yir Shemayim and only go in the Derech HaTorah. He says, Mida connect Mida, someone who's Moisa Nefesh for Hashem. Hashem Kaviyach will be Moisa Nefesh for him and his tzitza'av, his children. Hopefully we'll be able to chazak and do the Ratzon Hashem.